Hi everyone and hi Shubhankar. So we are back here for our fourth video and podcast. This is about the self-publishing of our book Under the Sun,
Yes.
our journey of Under the Sun, as well as our journey of publishing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So today I think is going to be your day because the topics that we have selected today, that is of marketing, though we have been discussing together, three of us, most of the work has been done by you. Before that, I will just put in a word of the work, some work that Nachiket has done.
By the way, for the listeners, Nachiket is Colonel Pandey's son, and I don't know if we have explicitly stated that in the last few videos. And I just realized that we've been talking about Nachiket, you and I, but we've never really introduced him.
And what he hasn't told you that Nachiket and Shubhankar, they have been classmates from class 8 onwards,
Class 10th.
class 10th
onwards. Yeah.
onwards. And that is way back in 2010 11.
10, yeah.
Yeah,
We've
2010.
known each
So
other for 12 years.
12 years, 13 years now.
Yeah, yeah.
And it so happens that after they did their engineering and after they have done their further studies, Shubhankar has already put in about 5 years of work, and that it is our passion to do something outside our usual normal work
Yeah.
that we came up with this idea of KD, a
Yeah.
digital company which we conceptualized in 2020 during the lockdown.
Yeah.
And we said, how do we create a company which will permit us to fulfill our passion of various different passion that each
Yeah.
one of us has, and regardless of where we are located in the world, how do we continuously expand this digital company?
Yeah.
From that concept, from that one idea, we our blog already is about 2 years old. YouTube channel is about 1 year old. Within that YouTube channel, we have launched another one called Quantum Personality, Youth and Mind Power, and there's so many topics that we are doing.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
out of all this, four commercial projects came out last December, January when we started discussing, of which one is being managed by Shubhankar, that is the Abba Dabba. We will talk about it much more in a different series. And the book project, of which I am the author, the writer. Nachiket is the director, he is managing the entire project. Shubhankar is also, like me, helping in the major part, which is towards facing the market.
And before we get to the main agenda for today, which is we want to discuss the marketing, let's also talk a bit more about the overall macro plan that we have with regards to making more books. I believe we have already thought of very roughly another 5 books after this.
Yes, I. This is not going to be a one-off book. What we have decided is within our meetings, why we are discussing this loud and with the viewers as well as the listeners is that it is not just one-off book that you can plan, publish, and thereafter sit on that. No, if you want to become an author, you want to write books, you have to have a series. You have to have continuity. So we have decided the first book Under the Sun, which is the true experience, my life experience during my military career, which has been converted into almost about 25, 26 different, I will call them tales, but they are all true happenings.
And I really like the tagline we've given to it: a man's tales of soldiering beyond war.
Yeah, actually, I like this line quite a lot, soldiering beyond war, because whenever you go and search, whether on Amazon or online or other than Paramveer Chakra, Mahavir Chakra, Kargil war, this war, that war, military is not about wars. If you talk about our 75-year history, we have a 62 war, we have a 71 war, and I'll say we have a 65 war. And Kargil, yeah, I'm a military man. I don't call it war at all because the enemy intruded in our home. So if someone intrudes in your home and you are showing him off, I don't think it is a war. But fine, there are a lot of people who sacrifice their lives. uh, and we have never been able to pinpoint. So that's why I don't talk really much about Kargil. So
Oh, I would say you do talk a lot about Kargil, but that's on Twitter, and that's for a different day.
yeah, yeah, I know what you're hinting at. Yeah, but to cut the long story very short, we are talking about 4 wars lasting how much? Not even a month. We are talking in terms of days. And then the heroes in that war, no military life. What has happened in the balance 74 years and 10 and a half months? What has happened in that?
Yeah.
Does the army sleep? There is soldiering going on every day.
Yeah.
Every day. No, I have not relaxed for 26 years that I was in army.
And that was one of the biggest things that I understood, that even soldiering in peacetime can be so dangerous. And that is highlighted in a few of your stories where you were in near death situations, and you weren't anywhere near a war zone or even a counterinsurgency area. You were in the plains of Madhya Pradesh.
Madhya Pradesh, that is one of the stories that appears in this book, where in absolutely pitch dark night, a concrete culvert. Culvert is something, to cross the river. The trucks can cross a small stream or a river, not river, I'll say a stream, but it does not have any sides.
Yeah.
The truck can just roll off.
It's
And
basically like a slab of concrete
it's slab of concrete
that's
which is thrown
placed,
across
that's thrown across a river,
a
and
river. It may
there's no
have,
safety.
it may not have piers in between for support,
Yeah.
but it is thrown. So simply imagine that during daytime you can see it, you can just drive across. What happens at night when you can't even see that?
Yeah.
And now what happens when the dam, which is overflowing, is 50 meters from you?
Yeah.
You imagine the sound. And what happens thereafter when the truck which is in front of you, your own truck with your own men, it has a punctured tire, bang in the center of the culvert.
Yeah, that and another story that comes to my mind is the one you referenced in the previous episode, where you were deployed in the Northeast and you were tasked with detonating some explosives that were near the end of their lives. So you were tasked with successfully and safely disposing of them, and how that routine exercise became a dangerous one when you noticed a couple of civilians, some small children who were in the vicinity, and how you
Absolutely.
had to deal with that. So overall, what I realized was that
I call that story as boom boom.
yeah,
Boom boom. So it just boom.
yeah,
So my career, my life, I would have been court martialed.
absolutely.
Another story that comes to my mind, which I have not even penned down,
Hmm.
Gurdaspur, Punjab Plains. Absolutely no terrorism, no nothing, peacetime life.
When was this? What year?
This was in 1994, 95,
Okay.
right? And we get a call in the night in aid of civil authorities, flood relief,
Oh yes.
and
Yeah.
deploy. So, what expertise do we have? But we are army, right? So, we simply went and we had these engineers and their boats. So, they are just technicians. Their boats are ready and they are fitted with OBMs, outboard motors. And there is just one operator who will operate that. Rest everything is you and me and my manpower.
An outboard motor is basically that thing that
What you
juts
see
outside of
outside, what you see in these fancy videos when you're seeing the sports,
Yeah.
there is that biggest sort of a
And
motor.
you pull on it
Yo,
and then
exactly.
it starts
Yeah,
revolving.
yeah, it starts
Yeah,
and
yeah.
there is a propeller down.
Okay.
It's at the end of the boat on the
Yeah,
backside.
yeah.
So they would put a OBM and his job was to drive.
Hmm.
Now, my job as an officer was actually to decide, because I've been given area that you have to rescue civilians from there. And this is Ravi River in full spate.
Hmm.
And the village I am given is across the river.
Right.
I have done 21 trips in that boat with my men, where when we would leave the bank, the water would be, yes, turbulent, but steady. And inside, when we went, the flow of the water would actually take an elephant away by 20 kilometers. And just this outboard motor, with that power, is able to keep the straight path that we are taking. And then we reach on the other side. The village is underwater. People are sitting on top of roofs. Imagine the boat is standing next to that house, and we have to get those people from just 7, 8 feet down.
Yeah.
Can you use a ladder? The ladder will press the boat down.
Yeah.
Can you climb up? Ropes. No one ever imagines that this sort of a thing will take place.
Yeah.
So, how we would sit on each other's shoulders to reach up to those people, old people, 80-year-old, get them in boat and go back again.
Hmm.
This is the type of life. And when you say soldiering beyond war, there is much more soldiering that happens beyond war, which is actually part of this Under the Sun.
Yeah.
And
I have to describe the book in a sentence. I think that the book is a perfect mix of feel good, slice of life type stories. You also get the emotional aspect of every story that comes out towards the end. And also, it is inspiring. Some of the stories are extremely inspiring. For instance, how you, despite being severely sick, managed to pass out from your training when you were just a recruit.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And I think those type of, that is the underlying theme across every story, that despite all odds, there is always a way out. And I personally found it extremely motivating reading the books. So let's get back to what we had initially. We went off on a tangent a bit, but
Which we always do.
which we always do. I mean, it's a podcast, so we are allowed.
Yeah.
No, so what I was going to talk to you about was this macro plan that we have for another 4 or 5 books. And if you can just talk a bit more about how we decided and what the topics of those
Yeah, okay,
books are
okay,
going to
yeah.
be roughly.
This actually is a good topic. Yeah, in fact, I digressed, not you. This is the initial question you asked me. I understand. When I started writing the stories, the entire military life would come back. So, and the only thing I had decided, if it hasn't happened with me, if it is not true, I will not write.
Hmm.
I do not want to write fiction. I don't want to be a hero. No, if I am weak, I must tell you I am weak. If I cried, I must tell you. I must tell you I have a heart, I have emotions. I also am a soldier. When I'm doing the soldiering, I, yes, keep all these things somewhere in my pocket. I don't use them. But the stories crossed a particular number, and then I said, no, they cannot be part of one book. That's how the idea of the second book came in, that, okay, sequel to this, the volume 2 will be that.
Yeah.
Third book, incidentally, came up after you motivated me. Like I always say, I really love to tell stories. And at the cost of, self praise. I actually know I'm a good storyteller, because whenever I used to tell stories in my life, also military, everywhere, I always used to have people spellbound around me. And I would tell you endless stories of my childhood. My father was in Air Force, and we have been in god-forsaken Air Force stations in all rural, different areas, so secluded and isolated. And that's how our life was. There was no TV, there was no mobile, there was no nothing. The only two things of entertainment, one was radio, which used to have only the local channels, and the news at quarter to 9 in the night in Hindi, at night 9 in English, and there used to be this program. I have forgotten the name. So other than that, there was no entertainment or music.
For a guy like me, that sounds like a completely different world.
So that's my and newspaper.
Yeah.
Now Air Force stations were located in such places. No newspaper vendor ever came there.
Oh.
So if we had a Times of India, the fifth day after it was published in Times of India in Delhi, it would be in our hands. Fifth day.
Right.
Now imagine, this is how our life was. So then what were we doing? No, we were never bored. We used to explore. Air Force stations have got big real estates. They do not have manpower to maintain it. So whether it is elephant grass or whether it is jungles, except for the roads and living areas and office area which is maintained properly, or runways and the area around runways which are maintained properly, everything used to be big jungle. And we as kids, we would roam around. There were such encounters we used to have. And these stories which I have been telling you from the last 8 9 years, last year when you said that why don't you pen down all your childhood stories
Yeah.
which you have actually been telling me, that's how the idea for the third book came in.
Yeah.
And then me and
And
my,
what's the name? I think you also suggested a very nice name for the book.
yeah, I said dancing in the sky.
Yeah.
Dancing in the sky. It was all the aircrafts, the fighter aircrafts that we used to see in the night, in the sky. As a 6 year old, I still remember in Bareilly, in hot sun, I was standing outside my house, my small right hand shading my eyes, and I was looking up in the sky. And this NAT aircraft, fighter aircraft, would go vertically up, would come down, and would go left, right. I used to feel what a beautiful dance in the sky. I said, this aircraft is dancing in the sky. And that's how the name struck me. That I'll write that. So it's a tribute to Air Force.
Yeah.
And also, it is what I actually felt for the first time.
I think your life as a Air Force kid was full of adventure and exploration that people of my generation have not really had, and also people that like kids who are younger than me are experiencing it lesser and lesser as we become so urban in our living.
Yeah, you remember that one particular story where we had one neighbor Pandit uncle, and he had three sons, and they all were quite old, older to us.
Yeah.
So one was in college and one was something like that. And the eldest son was probably 23, 24, when one day he brought a bag full of such healthy tomatoes
Yeah.
that that no one had ever seen.
That's a very gross story, by the way.
Yeah, so the tomatoes were so big, so red, and he brought for everyone in the colony, 5 6 families. And then they would say, Ki Baba, tomato or leke aana. Then 2 3 times he brought. So this story at the end, half the people will stop eating tomatoes. So let's continue with our marketing. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we spoke about the rough sort of outline for the next three books rather, and then I believe there are two more books but
Yes.
they're in the professional domain, not
There
in
no
the story
see. It's
domain.
my life has not all been about stories.
Yeah,
No, yeah, this is fun part. And this we have taken because this is the interesting part. Let people get used to my writing.
yeah,
No, the serious part is leadership. The serious part is the quantum personality, which I have developed over a period of 40 years. The quantum personality channel that we have on YouTube, it again is the same thing. This is not my character, I will not talk. I will not talk truthfulness if I have not been truthful in life. If I have not stolen anything, I will talk about it. I cannot steal something in life and then say, don't steal. That's the way I have lived my life. And how exactly I find myself, and I have coined a term called quantum personality, how I developed that.
rather I think we got this idea from Twitter, the
We
name
got this
quantum
idea from
personality.
Twitter. I think this guy was Mr. Malviya or someone.
Yeah,
And
I think Mr. Pankaj Malviya
Pankaj
on
Malviya,
Twitter, he
on
suggested
Twitter.
this name.
He suggested.
So we must give due credit to
Absolutely.
Mr. Malviya.
In fact, I asked him also. So I said, this is what I have used. I said, permit. So he was very happy to say, yeah, you are permitted. And then we named it quantum personality.
Yeah.
And it was, so that is what is going to be the
In
next
fact,
book.
talking about Twitter, the idea for this podcast came from a handle I think called Marcus Aurelius on Twitter. Or something Aurelius, I remember this guy on Twitter, and I think this was around the time when we launched the YouTube channel in September or October, where he said that your videos are a lot like the Jocko podcast, and that you should think about podcasting. And that's when we started looking into different podcasts and how we can
Yeah, that also is a
work.
learning. So,
Yeah,
how we learned podcast.
yeah, how we learn podcast. Yeah, absolutely.
Why don't you cover Under the Sun, the book project,
Yeah.
the marketing part, some very good work which you have done so far.
Yeah, absolutely. Episode is going to be a bit longer than usual, but I think that it deserves it because that is the kind of content we are trying to put forward. So let's get down to the marketing, and I think let's for the benefit of the viewers, listeners, let's make it a bit more interactive than just me going through whatever we discussed. So why don't we go from the macro like we always do with everything that we do? Marketing starts with the audience, marketing starts with the customer. So that's what we first set ourselves the task of, that we need to define who the audience is. And if you remember, I think we did this exercise around 2 weeks back, where we wrote down, as per the three of us, who was the audience for our book, what the different segments were, and how, and then we started thinking about how the book would appeal to them and what our strategy would be going forward. So as per you, what was your biggest, most important pick, I would say, or most important might be the wrong term, but as per you, who is the audience for this book, Under the
See,
Sun?
during our team meeting also, I had said the same thing. I'll say the same thing today. My inputs come from Twitter, my website, colonelsanjaypandey.com, and YouTube. The fourth place where it came was Twitter Spaces, which are the live sessions. Which are the live sessions. Now I have for myself developed an image on Twitter and on all social media platforms that yes, I am 62 years old, I am senior, I am elder, but I will call a 20-year-old also, I will address him as sir. Reason is very simple. I say maturity has got nothing to do with age. Being mature and being gentleman is independent of age.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, because of this, what has happened is I have flattened the entire following I have, and we have developed very healthy mutual respect.
Yeah,
I have 17, 18-year-old friends, girls, women, married, most of them, so many of them, they are on DM, they come to me on Twitter, and it's over 8 years that I have developed that image, which is actual, I can't be hiding, where people trust me. I have been writing extensively on Twitter. This morning I saw, I think I am already at 76,000 tweets or something. And I have been writing extensively on national security, right down to how to make very healthy nutritional stuff for my pregnant daughter.
yeah,
That was in absence of my wife because she passed away.
yeah,
So I've been writing on so many different topics. So my take, not for this book Under the Sun, not for the sequel of this, or not for the childhood, even for the quantum personality, leadership, youth and mind power, which I'm going to be writing on extensively. And I have written tremendous amount of things about these topics on Twitter. I have developed a circle or a influence circle where people actually are focusing on what I write and not who he is.
yeah,
I think that they have already established. So I would say that anyone who is genuine, anyone who wants to come up, anyone who wants to learn something in life, anyone who has already lived his life but really wants to know and know about how this life is all about. So to me, the youth across the board, without gender, people of age from 20s to almost 50s, across the board, there are so many people who are 60 plus who have already booked their copy of our book. So to me, I have not vertically split or horizontally split. the people or the market, as we say. So I don't take this as a commercial market. I take this as a heart to heart market. They'll say, I call it, because I'm connected to their heart. When I write something, so they read,
Yeah.
they like, they respond.
Yeah.
So my responses come from that whenever I see the responses. So I think when I talk about Under the Sun, I don't think there is any age category that will feel bored. Probably this is one of the books people will say they finished in one sitting.
Yeah, it's got something for everyone, regardless of their age or their position, their likings or dislikes. It's a very, very interesting read. I have gone through the draft manuscripts and been a part of the editing and all of that. And that's what I have felt too, that even if I am a 10-year-old boy in class 5 and then I'm reading this book, or if I am a 20-year-old who is the child of a retired armed forces personnel, uh, or if I am someone from a complete civilian background who is just interested in what does the military life actually mean beyond war, like we say, all of these people will be interested in the book Under the Sun, because it goes into something that is very core. It is a story, but at the end of the day, it also reveals human emotions. It reveals the sort of depth that a armed forces personnel has to have to carry on day to day. Isn't that right?
I will have a advice. Yeah, we have spoken about the people who are going to be interested in the book. Let me actually take you slightly on the other side. There are so many people who would be seeing our videos or who would be listening to this podcast because they are authors, they want to be self publishers, and they also want to take this line. They may not be, but may in future. My advice to them is only one: pick up a subject wherein you are passionate about it. And when you are passionate about a subject, and when you start writing, let it be fiction, let it be true stories, let it be on leadership, let it be on quantum personality, let it be on youth and mind power. I am also thinking of a book on recipes, recipes on the go. I want to actually reach out to each and every youth that you are living life nowadays alone, single. You self cook, and you always find that there is something in the fridge, but you don't know what to make. So, what I am saying is that
Yeah,
if you're
absolutely.
passionate,
If that is something that is going to be extremely popular with people, I believe, because this is the kind of book that I would buy, because
yeah,
I
so
stay alone and I like cooking. And I gave you that, if you remember, we discussed this idea of having a book which, beyond the recipe itself, goes into the intricacy of why you are putting a particular ingredient at a particular stage and what is the science behind that cooking, and really understanding how the flavors and the items interact with each other.
yeah, yeah, you're right. So, what I'm saying is to all these authors, anyone who wants to write, anyone who has got passion for writing in whatever language you do,
Yeah.
unless you have passion for what you are writing about, unless you have passion, don't get into it. You have to be passionate. And when you are passionate, trust me, you will have your own market. The market is already always there to buy and to learn. The thing is that it is your first book that matters. How passionate you are. So this is for the authors or who want to be authors or the people who want to write.
Yeah.
And along with, and we talk so passionately about what I do or what he does, and it's so easy thereafter to put it down in writing.
But at the same time, that doesn't mean that you simply just build the product like they do with startups, or just write the book and then assume that people will come and that they will
No,
buy
you
it.
still have to market.
You That is one of the most
The
important
most
thing.
thing is marketing.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So you simply cannot say because I have written such a beautiful book, people will buy.
Yeah.
But for that, people have to know. So how do they know? It's all about marketing.
Absolutely. So we talked a bit about our audience. We talked about why they would like the book. Let's talk about, so when we started talking about all of these different segments of people, we came to this core idea that regardless of who the person is, what their mindset is, they are all interested in knowing more about military life that goes beyond what you read in popular media, that you read about wars or about counterinsurgency operations in the valley or in the northeast, but beyond those things that make get a newspaper article. How does a soldier live day to day? What type of work does he do? How does he interact with the men? And what is the type of camaraderie? And what are the challenges they face? And all of those things. So they are going to be interested in all of that. And once we sort of wrote that down on paper, and once we realized that the common interest that everyone has is military life, understanding more about it, then we realized how we want to market it. A conscious decision that we all took while we were thinking about the marketing was to not make it look like it's a book written by a military veteran. Rather, it's a book written by an author about military life. And that was a very important distinction for us to make internally. Would you say?
Absolutely. Uh, it has become very common, that I am from military, so I write down, I give a military look to the book and I give a military look like title. And then thereafter, one keeps on boasting. No, the idea which you were for military book and military look, I was for a military book and military look. Nachiket was absolutely against.
Yeah.
He said, no, you write. You are not only going to write on military tales, you are going to be writing on quantum personality, you are going to be writing on youth and mind power, you are going to write on leadership.
Yeah.
So why military? He says, I want to present you as an author who has written this military book, these military tales, author who has written quantum personality. So that idea, yes, we really like that.
Yeah, because
How-
when you think about it in the macro, you realize that yes, your military background is something that everyone knows about. That is, of course, going to be the center stage. But then that is just a part of your personality. Your personality has, over the years since you retired and since there have been so many experiences that form a part of the rest of the books that we talk about when we talk about quantum personality, character building, and we talk about entrepreneurship. All of these things are post your retirement in post 2006, I would say. And so just attributing your entire persona to the military life would have been doing disservice to your overall journey. And that was a very valid point that helped us really set the marketing and just thinking.
Actually, it completely changed our mindset.
Yeah.
Rather than just one or two aspects, as soon as we repositioned ourselves, our mind, to think from that angle,
Yeah.
we started thinking very, very differently.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was actually a game changer, I'll say.
The first thing that this thought process sort of translated into for us was thinking about the cover art for the book. And that ideally is, like people say, the last thing that you should be doing when you're thinking about a book. But since we are marketing people, we think from the market perspective first. It was the first thing that drew us once we were in that zone of the manuscript is almost ready. So once we started thinking about getting the printers in line and the marketing, the first thing that we started off with was thinking about what the cover would be like, and that's something we're still working on. But because, like you said, I wanted a very militaristic look to the overall thing, and I felt that we should play that up because that is what our our target audience, will identify with the most. But then what we also realized was that you can do that without becoming run of the mill, because there are so many military books out there that they'll have a face in a uniform, or they'll have a couple of soldiers that are fighting, or they'll show a war scene, something in black and white, something in OG. Then there's that popular Vietnam War figurine that is there where they're raising the flag. I think that's Iwo Jima.
Irin Jama, yeah.
Yeah.
Jima.
So those things have almost become very cliche, where everyone instantly recognizes that. as something being related to the army. So we wanted to somewhat bring out that aspect without doing the run of the mill things, and by talking about a much broader point. And how that translates into cover art, even I cannot answer today. Neither can you.
We don't have one today.
We don't have a cover art today, but we are still in that phase of thinking aloud and working with a cover artist, and we'll come to something. But the point is that that sort of tweaking our thought process is what really set us down this path. Talking about the cover art and the book cover, that is something we have paid a inordinate amount of attention to right at the start, simply because it is the hook for the entire book. It is something that pulls people in. So we spent a lot of time deliberating on the book titles. Under the Sun was finalized, I think, just about 2 weeks back or 3 weeks back.
Yes.
And what were I think some of the other titles we discussed, they were quite
Actually, we suggested almost about 10, 15 different titles.
And there were a lot of close ones. Under the Sun.
Yeah, there were a lot of close ones. But finally, everything came down to Under the Sun.
Yeah. Another one I really liked was Military Tales. That's the one that's on your blog. That's the name of the section, I believe.
Yes. Military Tales.
Military Tales. Yeah.
I had a idea of a cover art where from the left edge and the right edge, I just have the animal tails hanging and just write down Military Tales. So
that would have been such a dad joke.
Yeah.
A bad joke and a dad joke. Yeah. So I think we have discussed the macro of this marketing and the overall view that we that sets our thinking towards marketing. The next part of our discussion, I think we just had this last week or so, was the different channels that we will be using to promote the book and to build awareness about the book in general. A broad framework that we came to during our discussions was that we don't know a lot about social media marketing and we don't know a lot about selling things online. This is the first time we are trying to build a product and sell it online. I'm calling the book a product, but you get the idea. And so we decided that we must prioritize the things that we know the best and that we have a firm base on before we start experimenting with new things. So once it came down to that, that's when we really decided that we'll use Twitter and we'll use YouTube as the two primary platforms to talk about the book and that's why we started this pseudo educational and a series about publishing a book, self-publishing a book on YouTube. And why don't you talk a little bit about this aspect of how we've been sort of thinking about Twitter and thinking about YouTube together to raise awareness about this book?
Last about 5-6 years that I have been very, very strongly and extensively on social media. What I have realized is something that you have been doing so naturally, but you have not been really highlighting that. That is the search engine. Search engine optimization is something that every author, everyone must learn. What title you are giving to what words you are using in social media, it matters a lot.
Yeah.
Your presence on social media, on internet matters a lot. Hence, how exactly SEO works. And it's even I have learned from Shubhankar. I have a diary here in which I have written down point wise, okay, the day he was teaching me, and thereafter I have got used to it so much it comes just as a natural extension of my computing skills. That simply I go and search something. It's a 2-minute job.
Yeah.
But I think the start point is SEO. And whenever you're talking about the search engine, there is something that is searching the internet. So what you want to come up in the searches. To come up in searches and to say, today we are talking about promoting the book. So it is not about promoting the book, it is about promoting the author, promoting the topics that you're writing on.
Yeah.
How many times are you appearing? So unless you start making, this is a digital world.
Yeah.
Today, unless you start making your presence felt on internet,
Yeah.
no one is going to know you. So we started off on this in a very, very planned manner in 2020.
Yeah.
When we said, ki, okay, when I type COL, that is the short form for Colonel space Sanjay space Pandey with no Y, PANDE, in Google search, my name should come up.
To the listeners, that is a very important distinction. Pandey with a Y is not something that is to be trifled with. You can't say Pandey with a Y
I am the
to
lighter
address
one.
Colonel Sanjay Pandey because he takes offense
Yeah.
at being referenced as Pandey with a Y. He is Pandey with a E.
Other day, someone asked me on the WhatsApp message, do I write PANDEY or PANDE? So my crisp answer back was, I am the lighter one. So I am the lighter one. So, no, coming back. So when you type this, so today you will find probably the first 10, 15 entries all are mine. Right.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know, there is no pride in it. It's marketing.
Yeah.
We thought about it 2 years back, and this is the amount of work that we have put in.
Yeah. And we have applied that across all platforms. So
Across all
SEO
platforms.
doesn't refer to Google search engine.
Exactly, across all platforms.
It is as valid as for Twitter, what you have been doing since 2015.
Absolutely.
And YouTube.
And then we decided that after about a year, Shubhankar's name will start appearing. And last year, Shubhankar's name started appearing very, very often. Our entire YouTube channel is Shubhankar Chaudhary and me. So it's actually, I've gone ahead, cleared the area, brought Shubhankar in. So what we are doing, what we have done exactly is what you should be doing. You have to increase your internet presence. If there is someone else, you have to increase there also. And the more you come on the digital searches, all these SEOs, so the better for you. So ultimately, everything is contributing towards your marketing only.
Yeah.
And there is nothing wrong in what you're doing. You are running a company.
Yeah.
You are writing down. The thing is that you want to reach as many people as possible. And today you can't spend on advertisement. We don't have money, so we have to use our minds. So this is one of this is what actually last 4 5 years we have been doing, and last 2 years specifically.
Yeah, building an audience first rather than building a product first
Exactly the point.
is the core
Key.
thing that we thought about 2 years back when we started working on KD, where we said that for the next 3 years we'll just spend this time building an audience and sort of getting that following. Where if we were to launch a product at a given time, we would at least have a minimum number of people that are convinced that will just want to buy, and that the item will the whatever thing we provide will actually benefit them. That's also a very important part.
Don't forget, while all this was happening, the kitchen fire has to burn.
Yeah.
Which means that you simply cannot leave everything and start doing this.
Yeah.
Because it takes huge amount of time for the money to flow in.
Absolutely.
So you have to have two careers going together. One is driven by passion and one is driven by stomach.
For us, this was a two-way split where we focused on the company that Colonel Pandey has founded and that I am a part of since the last 4 years. When we used that company to drive sales, and then whatever free time we had, we devoted to this project, KD, and this book project in particular. So how that translates for any other person, they may be in a job, which is very common. So you simply have to find time around your 9 to 5 and your daily obligations, an hour or two every day, where you spend this time working and building your audience, building your products, and building a profile.
Not to forget, this hasn't come easily. The amount of work that we have put in, the amount of hours that we have put in, the time at which we get up in the morning. I am that morning 4 o'clock type person, 4:30 type person. Shubhankar started with being a 8 o'clock person to 7 o'clock person.
That is fake news. I have been getting up early since the better part of last 10 years, but I somewhat lost that habit. I would get up at around 6, 7, and then I realized sometime around the last 1.5 years, that getting up early was the best part, like the best periods of my life. And so over the last, I would say, 6 months or so, I started documenting on Twitter also.
Exactly. So another thing with this is that the thing is that all these things when you want to do, they don't happen like that. You have to sweat.
Yeah.
We have been sweating for it for the last 3 years, and we have been doing it. We have been spending longer nights and days, and we have been working at 4 o'clock. We have been having our own Saturdays and Sundays where we don't do anything. So those are our days, our fun days. As far as possible, we try not to work on these days. But
Yeah.
then, yes, Monday to Friday, then there is no mercy when it comes to work. So the thing is that if you can do your job of 10 hours in 1 hour, I am very happy at the efficiency. If you sleep thereafter for the balance 9, fine. So that is my funda in life. That I work, the thing is that there is nothing pending at any given time. And that should make anyone happy.
Yeah.
So all these things which are coming, so it is not that we have got some very fat earning which keeps our kitchen and our gas on and then we are doing this. No, it doesn't. We are working, we have our work responsibilities which we do in full, and then in the spare time we are doing all this.
Absolutely. We are small business owners. It's not like we're very rich people. And if you feel so, no, I was saying that we are small business owners. It's not like we're very rich people. As you can make out, I think I've worn this particular shirt in around 10 videos. And sir, I think you have
No,
more
that
than
you
me.
have won today just to make that statement to the visual thing.
No, in the earlier videos also. I think there are in the entrepreneurship playlist, I'm wearing the shirt around 4 or 5 videos, and I think most of your shirts look the same, sir.
No,
So I
but
can't really comment how many times you've worn this one.
Are you giving some indirect message to me?
Yeah, no, I'm saying that we are not very rich. So if you are so inclined, please buy around 10-20 copies of the book per person. We'd be very obliged.
So should we
Yeah, I
call
think
this off?
we have gone over the time limit
Yeah, we have
for
gone over
this
the time.
video. There is still a lot to discuss about marketing and sales for this book. So probably we'll have one more episode before we round things out and finish this.
No, I
particular
think what
part.
we should do is we will have one more episode
Yeah.
after a while, which actually covers up to 22 June, in which I also want to talk about the mail and the backend integration of the payment gateway that we have done,
Yes.
or the email management that we are doing,
Yes.
or that new thing that you found out today as to how to integrate both of them through the softwares.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about all of this in the next episode.
We're also
Right.
going to meet our printer. That's the first meeting that we have with a
Ah,
printer
that
tomorrow.
we
So
have-
we'll probably give an update on that also in the next one.
We will cover these two things, the printer and the backend things that Shubhankar has done.
Yeah.
So with that, we call off this particular episode.
And again, call to action. 27 September 2022, the book releases. The payment link, the pre-order link is in the description. And if you are interested, please do check it out.
And my appeal, we have no money. And what we are trying to do is to buy pre-order, collect money.
Yeah.
We'll dispatch the books on 27th of September 2022. And the faster we get the money for our minimum print order, we have been talking about 5 lakhs that we require. So we do not want to crowdfund, we do not want to ask for donations or nothing. We simply want people to get interested and pre-order the book.
Yeah.
So with that, we say bye. See you in the next episode.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye.